Welcome to another episode of Equity Mates. My name is Bryce, and as always, I am joined by my equity buddy, Ren. How are you going?
I'm very good, Bryce. It's that time of week again, our favourite episode of the week, Watchlist Wednesday.
It is Watchlist Wednesday. We're joined in the studio by an expert to talk to 3 stocks on their watchlist or in their portfolio, and it is our pleasure to welcome Damien Cottier from E-Invest Better Future Fund.
Thanks.
How are you going?
Pretty well. Great to be here.
That is good. So, Damien, today we've got 3 stocks to go through, all small caps.
That's right.
On the fun end of town.
Yeah, it's a bit more interesting.
So we'll start with your first one, which is Janison Education Group. ASX ticker is JAN. Tell us a bit about the company.
Sure. Well, Janison's a really interesting company. It's one of what we call our better future investments in the fund. So we have stocks which aren't small cap stocks, but we do like to find these really interesting companies which have really interesting global growth prospects, and Australian companies doing really innovative things. So Janison is a education stock. It has a platform, exam platform, assessment platform, if you like, online assessment platform. And what it's done is it's developed this platform over a number of years in Australia, and now it's taken into international markets, essentially. So done work here in Australia, but now the universities in Singapore, the University of London as a client, and also even the Czech Republic. There's some universities there that use the platform during COVID as well. So really interesting company. And where to from here? Well, they're starting to move into broader global markets, where they've done a deal with the OECD. So there's a thing called the PISA test for schools, which the OECD run in around about 30 or 40 countries globally, and Janison is a digital online platform for that in about 10 of those countries. It's the test you read about in the papers when they say Australia's falling behind in physics or maths or science or something like that. That's the test we're talking about, and they're currently doing that in about 10 countries, including the US, Japan, Russia, and it's here in Australia, and there's going to be more in line with that down the track. They also are now integrated with a platform called Brightspace, which is a global online education platform. Really interesting. One of the things we look for in companies is sort of third-party verification that they're doing good things. Here, Brightspace, they've invested some money in Janison themselves, and so it's now integrating the Brightspace platform, which does universities and high schools both in the UK and also the US, and so now they can just go out there and sell that to the end clients. So really interesting in pipeline there. Like I said, an Australian company developed the platform here, spent the money with the help of their clients in developing it, but now they're at the stage where they're taking it to new clients with higher margins and really taking off.
It's an interesting one. I mean, we hear a lot about, the COVID stocks, your Zooms, your Pelotons of the world. Is this another stock that has really benefited from that COVID, studying at home, online class trend?
It has benefited from it, but I like to think of it as a bit of a springboard. So what it's sort of done is Janison has spent a lot of time and have been talking to people for a long while about the benefits of doing online exams. They're a lot more environmentally friendly than pen and paper exams. They're also more efficient, and they can be marked automatically turn around a lot quicker, and you can actually do the exams in a way that you get to really learn what the kids are learning. They can change the questions on the way through to find out how deeply the people know the material. But so I see it's a bit of a springboard. They spent a lot of time trying to explain to people the benefits of it. Now people have seen how it works, and now they have this great springboard into broader global markets, really, really large global markets, and they really just scratched the surface of what they're capable of in our view. So it's been one of those things where COVID has helped them, but it really has helped them demonstrate the power of what they're doing and the benefits of it.
So, Damien's second stock on your watch list is one that has a bit of buzz around it at the moment, and that is Calix. ASX ticker, for those at home, is CXL. So can you tell us a bit about Calix?
Yeah, well, Calix is once again another interesting company with interesting global growth prospects. it has a number of different businesses, but the one everybody's talking about at the moment is their business, which they developed a technology to separate carbon dioxide from the cement and lime production process. You probably know that cement and lime production is a pretty big emitter of carbon dioxide, and so they've developed a process which sort of separates that out of making those products. And now a lot of companies all around the world are wanting to align with the Paris Agreement and set interesting targets, net zero emissions targets, essentially. And what Calix's product does is it allows them to have a plan, like a pathway in place to achieve those sort of targets. So it's getting a lot of interest from companies globally. It has a project Lilac, as project that's set up with cement manufacturers in Europe. So it's got some of Europe's largest cement manufacturers, Heidelberg Cement, Cemex, which is another large cement manufacturer, on board there as well. And it's also another interesting aspect of its technology, it can actually run off renewable energy rather than gas. And so it has other industrial users looking at its technology as well. It's signed an agreement here in Australia with Adelaide Brighton just a couple of weeks ago to set up a plant here as well. But that's just one of the businesses that Calix does. It's been a good one for the fund. We actually bought in around about 70 cents or so.
Nice.
We really like those companies that are making a positive contribution to a better future, that we say, and we think it's got quite a runway ahead of it, particularly as it's got a number of other businesses which people don't talk about as often. It has a business which is an environmentally friendly way of managing wastewater, which is sort of the business which is generating cash while they're doing some of these other things. And they also have an interesting business which is looking at developing the next generation of lithium ion batteries, which with lower grade lithium essentially. But that's pretty early stage, so there's not really much talk about that. But it's once again another interesting Australian company doing these things, which could be really significant in the global stage.
That's how you get the multiple expansion, when the lithium battery business really takes off and all the other investors pile in.
Yeah, well, we just see a lot of optionality. They're the sorts of companies that we like, where they there is a fair bit of optionality to them, and they've sort of got a base business which sort of underpins things.
So Bryce mentioned before that there's a bit of buzz around Calix at the moment, and we've heard it come up a few times this year. So they're obviously doing something right. I guess with a lot of these companies that have a new technology or a new process, there's a lot of buzz, but the question really is it buzz, or are they going to be able to implement something long term and create value long term? Where are Calix in that process? Is this very much early stage trials with these cement manufacturers, or has it been proven out, and is it now in an implementation phase?
Well, it's moving. They've done a lot of work over a long period. One thing we look for with these companies is external validation of people who know what they're talking about. We have a pretty good idea, but it's really important that we have people like Cemex and Heidelberg Cement and people who really know their stuff being really interested in the technology as well. With the project Lilac, they've proven that it works in a pilot plant, and so they're at the next stage now where they're looking to ramp it up to full production. These things, sometimes issues happen with the scale up, but they're reasonably confident that it can happen. And also the plant they've signed up with Adelaide Brighton the last couple of weeks is sort of at that next level as well. So there's always a bit of risk involved with these stocks, but that's why we like to have a portfolio. That's why we've got 45 stocks in IMPQ. And what we like to have is a range of stocks. You've probably got 15 or 20 of what we call our better future investments, which are stocks where we think that there's a pretty significant upside, have really interesting global growth prospects, and so having that portfolio effect, they're not all going. I'm not going to sit here and say they're all going to work, but
that would be bold of you if you did say that.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe me, but what we find is if you've got a portfolio with those sorts of stocks in them, then enough of them are going to go well to do well, which we sort of have managed to do so far.
It's funny you say Adelaide Brighton, because they were one of the first companies in Australia to adopt waste to energy as well, and they use that to power their cement kilns. So seems like, again, they're on the cutting edge of some of the environmental, making the cement industry, I guess, a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, well, I guess, and that's the thing, but first focus was in Europe because they've got a carbon price in Europe. So if you don't reduce your carbon, you're going to have to pay for it, essentially.
Yeah.
Adelaide, we don't have that policy here in Australia, obviously. So Adelaide brine's been a little bit slower, but yeah, they're now looking at the technology that's sort of been proven up by the Europeans in Europe. Yeah.
So Damien, last stock for Watchlist Wednesday is Immutep, ASX ticker IMM for those at home. Again, let's start from the top. What is Immutep all about?
Yeah, well, Immutep is a biotech stock. So it has a product which is a new technology. It's called LAG3 technology. And what it's really doing, it's helping your immune system work better when it's fighting cancer effectively.
Oh, wow.
And so it's used in conjunction with one of the Keytruda, what's called Keytruda, which is a drug owned by Merck & Co., which is one of the key drugs in chemotherapy effectively. And what the Immutep product does is it takes that drug and makes it more effective. And so they've got good results from trials in the US, and they've actually just recently announced they got fast-tracked FDA approval through that fast-track process. So the FDA sort of thinks there's something interesting there as well. And what the tests they've done to date demonstrate is that, and these are phase 2 trials, so it's not a full phase 3 trial, but what they demonstrate is that using the LAG3 technology in conjunction with the Keytruda makes the results much better, particularly for people with breast cancer, for instance. So almost doubles the number of people that can be assisted with that. And they're looking to other indications as well. So head and neck cancer is the next one that they're looking at, and they're doing these studies in conjunction with Merck & Co., who are large pharma company. So that's once again the sort of third-party verification, validation I was talking about before. And once again, it's sort of like a pretty significant market opportunity there, biggest one of the biggest selling drugs in the world, and this sort of works well with it. So a really interesting company.
That is fascinating. It's cool to see Australian companies doing things like this. It's pretty fascinating. I was just thinking about these 3 stocks. So you've got a online education provider, like I guess an industrials, like cement industry focused business, and then biotech. I was wondering how big your circle of competence must be.
well, we've got a large team that's helped. Like we've got 11 in our small cap team, 11 investment professionals, and then obviously we have other resources beyond that. But we've got a lot of people who, like I was talking about Immutep before, but there are 2 people in my team who know a lot more about than I do. And so, I've been doing this for 15 years, covering a wide swathe of the Australian market for a long time. And I really love looking at these companies that are doing interesting things. And you see a lot. I've modelled hundreds of companies and been to thousands of meetings. So you get this. Even though you're reasonably generalist in what you do get to know the traits that good companies sort of have. And
I like your framework of like external validation as well, and I don't think that's something we've spoken about a lot on the show. I guess for people who, for the first time, they're thinking about external validation as, I guess, a criteria or a factor to think about. How do you approach external validation? Let's take Immutep as an example. Like, is it when big pharma gets involved and shows interest? Is it FDA approval? Are there other indicators that we're like, all right, it looks like there's something here?
Yeah, well, it really depends on the stock, and it really varies on a stock-to-stock basis. But what we're looking for, particularly with these smaller stocks, we look for external validation. One of the factors we look at, a strong balance sheet is a must-have, and a really large global opportunity. But with the external validation, it's really, is there an industry player who knows what they're doing and can see a way that they're going to make money out of this? Are they involved? And if they're involved, it's likely that we'll make money out of it as well if they can execute. Like I said, not everything's going to work every time, but if you've got a portfolio of 30, 40 stocks like we do in IMPQ, we think we're going to find enough winners to make sure that you generate reasonable returns over time, which is what we're all about.
So Damien, your fund, the eInvest Better Future Fund, is listed on the ASX?
Yes, it's a quoted, it's active, what's called an active ETF, so it's quoted on the ASX under the code IMPQ. You can buy it and sell it just like a stock effectively, and with that you get exposure to the 45 or so stocks that I mentioned, which is similar to I'm giving you a sample, I guess, of some of the stocks in the portfolio.
So add that to your watch list if you haven't already. That is IMPQ. And to close out, and a reminder, we had Janison Education Group, JAN was the ticker, Calix, CXL, which is one that certainly needs to go on the watch list now. We've had many people talk about it, and Immutep, which is IMM. So Damien, thank you very much for joining us on Equity Mates. Very much appreciate it.
Thanks, Bryce. Thanks, Alex. Been fun.
Thanks, Damien.
That brings us to the end of Watchlist Wednesday. 3 pretty fascinating small cap stocks from Damien. If you would like more information on what we're doing or to find our podcasts, you can head to equitymates.com. We're on all the social channels, or you can email us at equitymates.com as well. Contact at equitymates.com,
That's it. Don't forget our email. And join us same time, same place tomorrow. We came across an article in Livewire that piqued our interest. 5 things that every beginner investor should be thinking about, how they should be approaching stocks rather than gambling in stocks like you used to do.
Not true.
But join us tomorrow. We'll have the author to break it all down and hopefully continue helping you on your investing journeys. So until then, thanks for joining us and see you tomorrow.
See you then.